Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm Abby.
And I'm Abby.
And this is Between the Abbies.
Where we talk about the stuff that we don't talk about on our other pages.
Yeah. We are currently in the middle of the forest in Oregon. I've been here for a few weeks, but Abby's been here for a lot longer.
If you guys don't know, my van Junie was unfortunately in an accident a couple months ago, so I have been here for almost 3 months now, and we're still looking at another month out before I can be back in Junie. But eventually we'll be back on the road and better than ever, and not really a bad place to be stuck. So
if you guys don't know, if you are like completely new to both of our pages, we both live in vans, and so that's why we're out in the woods in the middle of nowhere right now. Just for context.
All of these will be filmed out in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. We also have our fun little drinks. Abby, do you want to talk about what we're drinking right now?
We're drinking spooky margaritas.
There's a bug in mine.
That's van life core.
Van life.
Cheers.
The recipe will be on our TikTok page.
Yes. Has a green sugar rim. That's the best part.
Also, if you're joining us from Spotify, welcome. If you're joining us from YouTube, also welcome. We will have these videos posted on YouTube for anyone that wants to go see the live action. Currently, Abby and I are dressed up as witches because we are getting very festive for Halloween. I'm super stoked.
This is a production.
I'm proud
Labor
of
of love.
Yeah. So, I think we should just address the elephant in the room. Yeah, we've been debating talking about this on social media.
We've been getting so many comments and questions, and I've always wanted to keep my relationship private, just from seeing what other people go through.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a rabbit hole once you like open up that door on letting people in on your relationship.
Well, and you've also lived a public relationship, and you know what that's like.
No thanks. Never again. Well, maybe again. But we've been getting so many comments. Anytime we post a video together, people are always asking us, are you guys dating? And
we're not. But we are going to be talking about dating today.
We asked you guys on our Instagram stories your most requested questions on what it's like to date on the road or just our dating lives in general. So we have our little cauldron here.
Cauldron questions.
And this is our episode called Cauldron Questions with Abby and Abby. So we're going to get into them. You guys asked some juicy questions.
There's some...
I was surprised.
Wild.
The audacity. I mean, I'm here for it, but damn. We said don't hold back, and you guys did not hold back.
Yeah. Should I go first?
Mm-hmm.
Do a wraparound. How does Abby manage the relationship with her boyfriend while living so far apart?
This is a great first question, just so we can all be on the same page. I don't. We actually broke up. So, to answer that question, I manage it very badly because it didn't work out. So,
I mean, fair enough.
I'll drink to that.
I think that we have to drink in between each question.
Exactly.
All right.
By the end of the last question, we'll just be gone.
You have a bug in your hair.
Van life.
Van life core.
All right, here we go. Second cauldron question. Okay, this is a good question. This is very valid, I feel like. Okay. How do you date people if you're always on the move?
I don't. No, I'm just kidding.
What's dating?
What? Do we date? I think that I have tried. It's not something that I've gone out of my way to do. I think when I set out on the road, it was like a very solo, like I want to find myself and just kind of like really become super independent. And I have done that. Yeah. And I think I'm in a place in my life now where it's like, okay, I've done everything that I wanted to do alone. And I'm really happy being alone. And so I would be open to welcoming someone else into my life. That being said, I think since I am so happy alone, it's going to be hard to find someone that it's like, I'm not looking for someone just to have someone. I'm looking for someone that makes my life better than it already is. And my life is pretty great.
Yeah, that's hard. You can't really compete with your own self, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's also tough because we were talking about this earlier, and I think both of us have very one-track minds when it comes to dating, like all in or nothing at all. Yeah. And that can be really hard on the road because maintaining your independence while traveling with another person, especially if you're dating, is really hard because you end up kind of doing everything together. Yes. Because either you're in one rig or you're in two rigs traveling together and you're not really going anywhere without the other person. So that can be a really tricky balance, and I think that's a really good conversation to have before you enter a relationship with someone, especially on the road.
Yeah, I think it's hard because you can end up losing a little bit of your independence, and almost everyone that gets on the road is so independent. Yeah. And they have their plans and they want to do their thing, and so finding someone where it's like you can compromise. van life. But yeah, finding someone where you're both willing to compromise a little bit to make it work, I think. I'm speaking on this from a place of no experience, but I think that it would be hard to find.
It is. It really is. I mean, so I was in a 2-year relationship where we were basically living together for the majority of that relationship. We actually lived in a van together in Europe for a while, and it was great. It was an amazing relationship. I'm not going to go too into it, but it was really hard to balance dating and maintaining your sense of self and your independence.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving back from Europe because I felt like I was incredibly codependent. So that's a whole other situation.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's just like a conversation you have to have with that person. And if you guys can have open communication about that, I think that that's the healthiest thing. So.
I think that that's one thing that we also have an advantage on, though, is that we do know ourselves and we do know what we want, and we're not willing to settle. So we're not going to just get into something to get into something.
True.
I think that that is special. And I think that not everyone on the road, but I think a lot of people have that mindset.
I think so too. Cool. Next question.
Have either of you felt uncomfortable in a specific situation or worried about sexual assault?
Prevalent.
Do you want me to go or do you want to go first?
I personally, on the road, the community has been so positive and uplifting, and I have been at some gatherings where, you know, there are people that come on to you unwarranted, but I do feel like having a supportive community around you that is looking out for you is really helpful. So personally, I haven't really felt targeted or had an experience like that while living on the road, but I know that there is some stuff going on right now in the community that really begs that question.
Yeah, I think that there are multiple people, and I personally have had an instance with just one person who a lot of other people have had an instance with, and we're kind of having that conversation right now. I am calling it the Van Life Me Too movement because someone finally came forward about it very publicly, and now there's a bunch of people that are like, wow, I also had that experience and I told so-and-so about it and they did nothing. I had this experience and I told so-and-so and they did nothing, but now it's like all of these stories are coming to light and something's finally being done about it, which is really great, I think. I think that it's going to lead to a bigger conversation. I think that the one thing about our community is that we're a bunch of people that just came onto the road, and we have formed these communities where we live in like neighborhoods when we're at these places. Like we camp together, there's like different family dynamic type things, and all of it's unregulated, right? Like we don't have one governing body. It's not like you're on a school campus where you have counselors or anything like that available. And I think that that's kind of what we're starting talking about is we have these huge gatherings with 1,000+ people and there's no professionals there at the moment. And so that conversation is finally being had of like, okay, how do we start to like make these events safer and make everyone feel safe? And I think that that's really important. And I don't want that to take away from the fact that I have found the biggest community on the road, and like that's so special. I have met the most amazing people, and 95% of people are awesome.
I think, but also there's that 5% where van life does attract very big personalities. Yeah. And I think that when you have a lot of big personalities together too, it can be really hard to balance that. Yeah. I think having an organization or having a group that is looking out for people and that can be a safe space at these gatherings that have a ton of people that have very big personalities and can be, you know, somewhat predatory in a way, is really healthy, and that conversation needs to happen. So even though it sucks that that conversation has to happen, I'm glad that it's happening. Yeah, I think that the best way to describe a van life gathering, because a lot of people watching probably have never been to one, but like let's describe it like if you are at a music festival with no security, no regulation on drug use or alcohol use, no one to really be there if something goes wrong, that's what these festivals are like. It's completely rogue. Yeah. Which can be really fun, and for the most part nothing like really horrible has happened, but it's just a conversation that needs to be had and it's getting worked on. I think it's the best. That's a really good question. Thank you to whoever asked that. Okay, here we go. I'm scared. We knew this question was going to come up. I mean, we wrote these, so obviously we knew, but well, we didn't write them, you guys asked them. We wrote them down. Abby, what is it like having sex in a van? It depends on what van you're having sex in. So I've had sex in a few vans. I think that it depends. Like in Junie, for instance, if you guys know what it is, that's like my main van. There's no cabinets above the head part. There's only cabinets above the feet part. So it's like cramped
on that end, but not
Yeah.
cramped on the head end, which is really nice. And
Yeah.
you can like sit up fully. But then I've had sex in vans of people's that like you can't stand all the way up in. I'm like only having sex with women, so this is like only pertaining to that. But it's like you're like trying to pull the person to the edge and you have to stand on the floor.
Yeah.
Especially because the bed's also not wide enough.
Oh, yeah.
So
you have to
it's
get
like
creative with it. For
yeah, you have to get
sure.
really creative with it. It's like their legs are on the counters, their bodies
You're
on
in
the
the front
bed,
seat.
and you're like
You're
on
outside.
you're like on your knees on the ground. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good time.
You get really creative, and
it makes it more fun.
it encourages a lot of laughter, and like
Yeah.
you're just like cracking up at each other, which I think can be so fun. And,
Yeah.
like, but yeah, you're right. It does completely depend on the van. Like my first van, the bed was I could sit up fully, but it was crammed.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like laying down
Yeah.
and just like getting it done. But the
That's
van
like
I
the
owned,
worst.
yeah, I know, right? But it was fun though. I mean, you definitely get really close to the person you're having sex with.
Really close.
Sorry
Physically.
to our parents that are watching this right now. But my van in Europe though, you couldn't sit up fully. It was like I could sit up
Okay.
barely in bed. We ended up actually installing a skylight so that I could sit up in bed, literally for that reason, and for like ventilation and stuff. But that was the most important thing.
And for ventilation.
But that's not important. But
You
yeah, we
only
ended up
lived in that van for like a few months.
4 or 5 months. Yeah,
You installed a skylight just for having sex for 4 or 5
we
months?
installed that within the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
They needed it bad.
But that van was really crammed, so you definitely get creative. My van now is a lot better because I can sit up fully and more in the bed.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier, but like, yeah, it's just
You have
get creative
cabinets.
and
Yours
it's
is the
good.
same setup as Junie though, where you have
Exactly.
cabinets along the feet.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to like go down, it's like a little like
Yeah.
your feet are crammed. And
Yeah.
the bed's like, if you're in a house, your feet can't like hang off the bed like they can when you're in a house. And our beds are also
Yeah.
like mine is shorter than a normal full.
Yeah.
So
And changing positions can be weird because you can't just like go stand up and then
yeah.
get into a different position in the bed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's-
I'm sure you guys can picture it.
It's a creative
Just
process.
use your imaginations.
All right.
Okay. Oh no.
This kind of goes along the line, but pointer or ring finger?
Okay, this is a hot take. This is a very debated question. I didn't know it was so debated, but
I didn't know it was so debated because I thought that there was a right answer.
me too.
And I still think that there's a right answer.
So for those of you who don't understand this question,
people who have sex with women
yeah,
or women that do things to themselves.
yeah,
Which should be all of you.
exactly. There is a hot debate on which fingers you use.
Yeah. It is either pointer and middle finger, which is objectively wrong.
Yeah,
And then there is middle and ring finger, which is objectively right.
Yeah,
Although we've gotten a lot of mixed answers, and that question actually came from someone who believes the opposite.
yeah. Which, okay, this person, she's gonna listen to this and know who we're talking about. Hi. She has very small hands, so like I could understand.
Well, and her pointer finger is way smaller than
Way
her ring
smaller,
finger.
yeah. So I can understand if she would need like the leverage,
Mm-hmm.
but
you
other
don't
than
get the
that,
same leverage.
No, you need like the outside fingers.
It's
As, like,
stabilization.
stabilization, yes. And then that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So basically, if you do pointer and middle finger, you should rethink your life decisions.
You should rethink your life decisions for
Yeah,
sure.
I think you should
And
do some hard reflecting on that.
watching our podcast should help you make better decisions in the future.
Yeah, come to us for all the sex tips, especially with women.
We're clearly really good at it. You didn't know I was pointing to us in our witch hats.
I'm so excited to see the
Witches
comment
were
section.
the first lesbians.
Fuck
Were
yeah.
they? I don't know. I just made that up.
I mean, cheers to that. There's another bug in my drink. It's okay though.
Protein.
Mhm.
All right.
All right, here we go. Okay, this is a good one. Is there a lot of overlap? The van community is small, not a very big pond. Like overlap in a dating
Yes.
sense.
I would say it's more overlap than in a college campus.
I think so too.
It is like, yeah, I do know a lot of people who have dated the same people and have had like relationships with more than one person. I've also been in scenarios where it's like you might be talking to more than one person at once and you're all three camped at the same area.
Yeah.
And so it's like, someone will be like, oh, and like, this is obviously very casually talking, not like, oh, you're dating and you're trying to cheat. I want to make that very clear. Yeah. But someone will be like, oh, you should come over, but it's like the other person is there. And then it's like, how do you interact with both of them at once?
Yeah.
And that can be like a very awkward situation.
It can create, I think, a lot of tension and drama too. Like my first, I want to say like 3 months on the road, I was in this like love quadrilateral. Like it was so many people that just were like going in a circle, hooking up with all these different people. And I was like hooking up with one, and then he was hooking up with someone else, and I hooked up with his friend. And it was like, I mean, it was a great time.
As you should.
We had a great time. It was good. But it was definitely created a lot of drama, and where, like, now looking back, I think I probably would have done things differently because I would have loved to avoid that drama. But it was kind of fun because I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like my college years I didn't have. So,
yeah.
But I do think that there is quite a bit of
overlap.
It
is so crazy for me thinking about you being on the road at 19.
Yeah.
Like, we were just...
I'm 22 now, by the way.
Like, we were in such different stages of life at that point, and it's crazy that like we're in the same stage of life now, but even when I was your age, I was in such a different place than like now. Like the fact that you had that so early is so crazy.
It was definitely interesting. I love looking back at those times, but yeah, sometimes I'm like, wow, I really was 19.
Yeah.
Like just figuring shit out.
19 is so young. 22 is so young. Yeah. Like that's the thing is like I always think about it in terms of like when you're 26, you're going to be looking at 22. Like, that's so young.
I'm going to be watching this podcast like, Abby, what were you doing?
But when I see people that are like 30, I'm like, oh, I'm not that much younger than you.
Yeah.
But when I'm 30, I'm going to be looking at my 26 and thinking that I'm really young.
For sure.
So
it's all about perspective.
It's just like all a cycle of like, I don't know.
100%.
Yeah. Do you do stuff in their van or yours?
It kind of goes back to the question of how do you have sex in a van. It depends whose is better.
Yeah.
I think that it really depends on the setup. I mean, yeah, if you're like watching a movie together in one van, you're not just going to like move to the other van to go do stuff.
I feel like usually there's like one hangout van though and one not, and it depends on which rig is bigger. I will say there was one time, so my friend Patricia was visiting, and there's this girl that I was talking to, and she came up, and she has a pretty small van. It's like a short top, like you can't stand up in it, and the bed is really small. And I wasn't obviously going to kick Patricia out of my van, so I slept in this girl's van.
Oh my God.
And not only, like, we hooked up in her van, which was an interesting time for sure. And then even just trying to sleep, because she sleeps diagonally normally.
Yeah.
So it's like, we were trying to sleep side to side, but then our legs were completely hanging off, so then they would like go numb, and then you'd be trying to put it onto the counter.
Yep.
And like
just van life things.
It was pretty brutal. That might be the worst night of sleep I've ever had.
Yeah. Have you ever had sex in a tent?
I haven't.
Really? That's interesting.
I've never
I've
never slept in a tent with someone that I'm like in a romantic relationship with.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Worse than a van. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like it's not that bad. I feel like it's a vibe. I don't know. I haven't done it.
Sleeping pads and sleeping bags, but that's a different story.
Do you want
What was the question
to
again?
elaborate on that? I feel like you should elaborate.
It's just interesting with like the sleeping pads and sleeping bags, and it's just like all moving around, and it's just kind of annoying. I would rather just go outside and, you know.
I mean, just under the stars.
Yeah, romantic.
I love that.
Cute.
Just like a little bit cold. I hate being cold.
Okay, next question.
Have you left your tent and gone outside to have sex?
Yeah, actually.
Oh.
But it was like, it wasn't completely at night yet. It was like dusk.
Okay.
So
I'm guessing you guys were the only campers.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this was like way out in the fucking backcountry.
Okay. We love that.
Okay. Do you find yourself in an endless series of meaningless, unfulfilling one-night stands?
I think that this person needs to go to therapy.
Ouch. That hits hard. Are you okay?
Are you okay? If you need help, please reach out to us in our DMs. Please comment below.
Yeah.
We will be your mom and mom.
This hits hard.
This does hit hard. I also don't think that I have, though.
No, I'm someone who gets very attached.
I get very attached because this is what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I've only really ever like talked to 2 girls since I've been in the van, and neither of them were one night stands. We talked for a little bit and like we would like hook up when we were in the same area, but it was like not like we weren't just hooking up.
Yeah.
Like it was like very like
it wasn't just like a one and done thing.
Yeah, it's like it was multiple times. We were also talking a lot emotionally about other things. It wasn't just like sexual.
I think it definitely, you can get into a spiral of that, and I think I've known a lot of people who can get into that on the road, but like personally, I get very emotionally attached to people.
Yeah. I get very emotionally attached, and I also like I'm not someone that really values like just having sex with someone.
Yeah.
Like that's not really like my vibe in terms of like if I'm just going to hook up with someone that I don't really have a connection with, I would probably do better on my own.
Exactly. Yeah, if there's no emotional connection there, it's like what's the point?
What's the point? Like I would rather have you not be here because now you're just in my space.
In my space. Yeah. Get out.
Yeah, like
I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got this. Okay, wait. This is going to be a spin-off question. Do you use a vibrator or are you a manual?
Vibrator.
Oh, I'm a manual.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Girl,
even
do you
own a
have
vibrator.
one? Have you
I
ever
have
owned
owned one.
Why
But I don't use it.
Really?
I feel like it's not as good for me.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I have less control over it.
I think I mean, how many settings did yours have?
Maybe I could try a few more. I don't know.
All the comments right now are going to be like, you should try Abby's.
You should let Abby try it on you.
Next podcast, we try each other's vibrators.
I don't have one with me in the van. I left it at home. That's how much I don't use it. Okay. Next podcast, we try Abby's vibrators.
Try on all.
Oh my god.
Product review.
Just like live. Wait, I think it's my turn. Is it? No, I just.
Which question was?
I think that was
Where
a
did we
spin-off
go?
question of mine.
Oh,
I just asked you
okay.
that.
What are we doing right now?
I just asked you that because I feel like that's
the
like.
marks.
Yeah. I feel like we have to hold hands for the start of this question. How open is your relationship?
Our relationship is actually so open.
As open as it could be. We don't have to ask each other about anything.
Yeah, I mean, Abby has full permission to do whatever she wants.
Yeah, we can have sex with whoever we want. We can become...
date other people.
Yeah, we can become emotionally attached to anyone.
We don't actually text. We don't really text at all.
Yeah,
apart
unless
from, like,
we're
the
gonna like...
and stuff,
yeah, unless we're like trying to hang out. And that's because we're not in a relationship. Okay.
That's a great question.
That is a good one.
Do you use dating apps?
Okay, so the thing is my innate answer is I want to say no, but both of the people that I have like talked to on the road.
You can't say no.
I met on dating. I'm gonna tell the descent story, but you go first.
Okay, so I'm recently single. Like, we broke up probably a month and a half ago, so I haven't really been getting into the dating scene yet.
You haven't?
Okay, I downloaded Tinder. Fuck off. But I got so overwhelmed that I deleted it like 2 days after downloading it. It was a lot.
I only swiped for one night.
Yeah, I like wanted to see what was out there, and I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And I'm just like not into that right now, so.
Okay. I swiped for one night.
Mm-hmm.
I matched with 2 different people. This was before we were going to a big van festival. And I never went back to check to see who I matched with. And so we go to the van festival. One of the girls is Abby's friend. And so I meet, like, Abby comes and camps by me. She brings her friends over. I meet her. Didn't realize that we matched. I don't think either of us realized until after. And then the other girl, we're at a major party. Can I say I'm on illicit substances?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
I don't think so. What do they expect?
Okay, yeah. I am not
sober.
Yeah. And I'm on a substance that for me makes it really hard to like meet new people. Like I'm very in my own head. And so this girl comes up to me and she taps me on the shoulder and I turn around and I look at her and she goes, "Hey, I don't know if I know you from social media or from Hinge." Because I think she followed me on Instagram and then we also had matched on Hinge.
Yeah.
And I looked at her dead in the eyes and I looked away and I didn't say a single thing. I was like,
Abby,
I can't do this right now. So
I need to leave. Gotta go.
So then later on, like, there's like a couple other times during that festival where I feel like she tried to talk to me or we like interacted, but I was so embarrassed because I felt like an asshole, right?
Yeah.
So it's like she offered me a ride and I was like, oh, no, I'll walk. Like, it's fine. And she's like, fuck, this girl like really hates me.
Poor girl.
She still messaged me and asked if I wanted to go on a date after, though.
Maybe she was into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the vibe because apparently a lot of people were in love with her.
You're just playing hard to get.
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally?
So I went on dates with both of them. Mm-hmm. The one was like the night before we went out to the bars. Everything closes in Bend so early. So it was like 10 p.m. But we had gone on our date at like 8:30. So we were like, okay, fuck, what are we going to do now? We went back and like watched a movie in my van. She ended up sleeping over. And then the next morning, I was supposed to go on a hike with this other girl.
Playing the field.
I haven't dated anyone in 7 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just happened for me too. They both asked me out. I wasn't even searching for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went on a hike. It was really good.
So the answer is yes. We are both on dating apps. Do we use them much? Great question. It was actually kind of interesting because I hadn't announced that my ex and I broke up on social media yet. When I downloaded Tinder, and one of my followers, I think, screenshotted my profile and sent it to him and was like, she's cheating on you. And I was like, we broke up.
Have you had this happen? Because this has happened to me on a lot of dating apps to the point where I feel like it's getting to the point where I can't use them, is half the people that I match with, like, I'll talk like 3 sentences and then they're like, wait, are you from TikTok?
I follow you. Yeah. And then it's kind of awkward because they already, in a way, know your whole life.
So much about you, and you're like, I know nothing about you. And that creates a weird power dynamic. It
does, because you're trying to explain, like, or tell them about yourself, but all the information you're saying, you know that they probably already know. Yeah. So, well,
a lot of times they'll be like, oh, I know, or like, I saw.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Okay, fun.
Next question. What are your types?
People that look like me. We're gonna get so many comments. Same hair, same name, same. No. So I like both men and women. My types for men have always been tall, skinny white boys. That's just like.
That's a very bisexual trait.
Yeah, men that look like women.
Fair.
Cheers.
Cheers. I love women.
And for women, I don't think I really have a certain type, except, well, yeah, actually I do. People that look like me. I want someone that is a mirror, not a mirror image. That sounds really bad. But I want someone that's like, femme. I like femme girls.
Okay.
That like.
See, I think
like blonde hair.
Oh, you do like blonde hair.
I'm a sucker for eyes. I love blue eyes. So fuck. This is basically Abby.
See, it's funny because I feel like I do have a type. My type is like people that have similar style to me. I think I've dated a blonde girl in the past, and every time we were out together, people called us like sisters or twins. And so I feel like that's like a little bit like, it's like that kind of, so I feel like people with like brown curly hair, that's like my vibe. And also people that like dress like me, like I like that vibe. But I will say, I've dated a lot of people and I've been interested in a lot of people that don't fit that type. For like, sure. And it does depend a lot on like, I could see someone and they're not initially like my type.
Yeah.
And then I go on like a date or 2 dates with them and I'm like, oh, they're so cool. Yeah. And I'm like super into them.
Yeah. What's your type with like personality? Like, what do you look for in a personality for someone?
I like someone that's really outgoing, and I'm super outgoing, but I've realized, because I dated someone that was really introverted. My last girlfriend was really introverted, and I think through that relationship, I realized that I want someone that's almost more extroverted than me. Like, I like someone that brings me out of my shell more than I already am.
Interesting, yeah.
Because
I'm kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I kind of like someone that's, like, less extroverted than me, so I can... Maybe that's a control thing, but I like to feel...
You also like to be in the spotlight. So do I.
I do. Yeah, I'm a sucker for attention.
I think that I would have a hard time if that person was also trying to do like the same things that I was doing.
For sure.
But if they're just like extroverted, like around their friends, I want someone that I can bring to a party with only my friends, not talk to them for 3 hours and come back and have them having a great time, already friends with my friends, playing games with them. Like that's
you
the
don't
kind
want
of
someone
person
that's like gonna follow you around like a lost puppy.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and I don't want someone that I have to like babysit. Like I want to
sure.
feel confident in like leaving them like, oh, they're good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because I've been in relationships that's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of brutal.
It is, for sure. I've been that person in a relationship where like I'm super when there's someone who's like more outgoing and more extroverted than me, sometimes I fall into a sense of, oh, I like need to follow this person around or like be codependent, and that can be a hard dynamic to break. So okay, what's your worst dating experience?
Oh God, see, like this is gonna sound really cliche, but I think like dating men, and like for me, I think that my worst dating experience, and this might almost get sad, which it should be funny, is that like I was dating a guy in high school that like we started dating, or like we continued dating until we were into college. And he was really in love with me. And at the time, like I thought that he was so cool. I loved him as a human being, but I wasn't in love with him in that way. And I didn't know that that was possible. And I didn't know really what love was.
Yeah.
And so I think like we ended up breaking up. I broke up with him. And then like I didn't discover that I was interested in women for like 3 years after that. I didn't date.
Yeah.
I mean, I went on casual dates, but I didn't date anyone in that time. And I think that it's one of those things where it's like I will feel guilty about it forever. Like what he went through after dating people that I actually like and like having that experience. And I just couldn't understand it at the time because I didn't have that kind of attachment.
Yeah. That makes sense.
What's yours?
I mean, I feel like that's unfortunate, but also like probably necessary in your like, your journey. You know?
I also think that me coming out was like cathartic for our relationship. We're in the same friend group from high school, and we didn't talk for a really long time. And after I came out, we kind of became like, we're not friends, but like we can hang out in the same spaces again. And I think a lot of that was like healing for our relationship in the sense that it's like, it wasn't you, it was literally me. Yeah. Like in the most real way possible.
For sure.
Like not like, yeah. So.
That makes a lot of sense. Mine's a little bit more surface level.
Yeah.
Green.
Yeah.
There was this time during COVID where I wasn't very picky about the people I went out with.
I'm so excited for this.
You're going to laugh.
I asked you this earlier and you wouldn't tell me because we were waiting for the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So I was seeing this guy. And he had driven up. He lived 3 hours away from me. He had driven up to come see me for the weekend. And we had planned this weekend together. It was going to be really fun. He was not my vibe. He was like very introverted. He smoked a lot. He was kind of like always high in a way and like played a lot of video games and just not my vibe, right? Respect to anyone who does that, but not someone I would want to date.
Yeah.
So I was just lonely, right? It's COVID. He comes up to the town that I'm living in, and we had planned to go on a hike one of the days that he was staying up there. So the night before though, we had been at the grocery store, and he saw this like magnesium sleep drink that he was like, I've been having trouble sleeping, maybe I'll try this. And I was like, cool, yeah, try it out. He chugs the whole thing that night, and
I already know where this is going.
Is supposed to be like a fourth of the bottle, and that knocks you out, right? So one, he's like super knocked out. Two, it's magnesium. If you don't know, magnesium is a diuretic. It's rough on your stomach. Don't take it like that. Don't do it. Trust me. So he chugs the whole thing. We go to bed. He's in and out of the bathroom all night. I felt so bad for him. Like,
in and out of your bathroom?
We were staying at my friend's house.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so my friend's bathroom.
So I'm like, I would not be dumping that shit.
No, I wasn't in the van yet. This was before I had the van because it's 2020.
Dude, you were a baby.
I was a baby. I know. I think I was 18, maybe 19. But anyway, so he's in and out of the bathroom all night. And the next morning, we're supposed to go on this hike, and he was still not feeling good. So I was like, we can just hang out here if you want. And he was like, no, I really want to go on this hike. I already said yes. Like, I'm not going to bail. Okay, we drive to the hike. We get to this hike. The whole road is snowed in, and I'm in my little Subaru Forester. We ended up getting down the road, but it was like a sheet of ice. We get up to the hike, and we're probably like a quarter of a mile in, and he's like gripping his stomach, not feeling good. And I was like, this is bad. For reference, I have a very bad phobia of vomit. It's called emetophobia. I've had it since I was a kid. When people puke around me, I either pass out or run away. And it's an automatic experience. Like, I don't have to think about it. It's like a panic attack, basically. And we get up there, and he's like, why don't we just set up our hammocks right now? So we set up our hammocks, and I look over my shoulder, and homeboy is bent over, about to throw up. And I sprint away. I take off running down this mountain. No trail, no nothing. I'm plugging my ears. I'm like, la 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 la. Running down this mountain, freaking out. And I think I ran like a half a mile down this mountain. I was so freaked out, and I was plugging my ears. So he was trying to call for me, and he could not find me because I didn't run down a trail or anything. And he ends up finding me, and he like comes up to me, and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, get away from me. I do not want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with you. Like, I'm so over it. And he tries to kiss me.
Okay,
like,
honestly, audacity.
The audacity, I know. So I'm like trying to be nice about it. I'm a people pleaser for sure. So I'm like, are you okay? You know, we go back to the hammocks. He like tries to kiss me again. It was a whole mess. But we ended up getting back to the car. On our way out, the snow on top of the ice had melted. And so it was just like a sheet of ice now.
Okay.
And I tried to turn my Subaru around, and I just start sliding into this ditch. Ended up getting out of the road.
Okay, wait, I just need to rewind for a second.
Yeah.
Abby drives a Subaru before she lived in a van.
I should have known.
I was
out at the time.
Okay. I was like, I'm just going to let that sit for a second.
But my dad actually started making that joke when I was in high school, because I got the car when I was 16. And he was like, oh, it's a Lesbaru. And I was like, you're not wrong.
I saw gay, so I said gay.
But yeah, so we ended up getting out. But I was very traumatized from that experience. And I've told that story a few times on TikTok. And there's been this random account that I've seen their comments on it. And I think it's him. And I think he knows. So.
Honestly, iconic.
I told my mom that, and she was dying laughing. I was like, Mom, I was crying about it. I was like, Mom, I just had the worst date of my life. And she was like.
She's like, that's so stupid.
That's funny. That's ironic. So that's my worst date. I'll never forget about it. Thank you to that man for that memory.
That is iconic, honestly. And I respect the hell out of you for running away.
Oh, yeah, fuck that.
How do you have sex if you can't shower every day?
Baby wipes.
See, I'm not a baby wipes person. I don't own baby wipes, but I do like a
sink shower.
I put soap and water in my hands.
Yeah.
And I wash it up, and then I take a wet washcloth and I wipe it down.
Yep. You gotta do what you gotta do, honestly. Or if there's a river nearby, I feel like that's a good option.
I think that part of it is that like most people that you're hooking up with also live in vans.
Yeah.
So it's like an understood experience.
Plug your nose.
Not in like that way, but like if you're like, okay, you gotta give me a second, it's like people get it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like it's not like oh, that's disgusting. It's just like we all live like this.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta prep beforehand. And honestly, like, if you're gonna hook up with someone, I feel like you're probably gonna know in advance.
It depends on, like, for me, yes. Like, I feel like if I'm gonna go on a date with someone, and this might just make me, like, a slut, but if I'm gonna go on a date with someone, I'm gonna go to Planet Fitness, I'm gonna shave my legs, make sure everything's in business. Not that you have to shave your legs.
The good old everything shower, though.
But, yeah, I do an everything shower for me, whatever that is for you. Personally accepting any circumstances that might happen. Yeah. Not like saying that that's definitely going to happen or whatever, but I never like to be caught off guard.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I never want to be put in a situation where I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And then it's like, fuck.
I'm the same way. Last question. What's it like having someone do their bathroom business in such an enclosed area? Valid. That's a great question.
I personally have only hooked up with people who have their own rigs, so it's like not an issue. I have had friends that have stayed with me in my van. Yeah. And usually we try to go to public bathrooms, but I've had a couple instances where my friends are like, I like really have to poop right now, and we're in the middle of nowhere at camp, and so I've taught them how to use my toilet, and they have used it, and I have dumped it gracefully myself.
Respect.
Yeah. But I've never had like, I think that it's so different with like an intimate partner.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
it's like, it's just my friend where I'm like, dude, that shit was disgusting, and I can like joke about it, and that's a different scenario. So I think
it definitely takes time to get on that level with someone. Like when you're friends, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's
if we
like
were
I gotta
together,
take a shit,
and I had to, I'd be like, Abby, I need to take
yeah,
a shit.
yeah, like
we need to find a solution. Right now. I wouldn't feel weird about it. But like with a partner, you know, you don't want to just come out and say that right away. And so like when I was dating my last boyfriend in the beginning of our relationship, I would just kind of do it whenever he wasn't around. So like if he would go to work, I would
then
like
it's
wait
like
until
your
he went
stomach's cramping,
exactly.
and you're like
holding it in, you're sweating. You got like the cold sweats.
your toes are like ripped. You're like, don't you have to leave for work now?
I'm gonna go get a coffee real quick and just sprinting into Starbucks.
If you're parked in a city.
Yeah. But yeah, we would like go to coffee shops and stuff. But then when we moved into a van together in Europe, where like we were in the UK for 2 months and it was rainy and we couldn't just like go out, have one person go outside because it's dumping down rain. One person would go in the front seat and put in their AirPods, and we would light some Palo Santo and just pretend it wasn't happening, and the other person would do their business. Or we would go, like one person would go into the bed and put the cover over their heads and put in their AirPods and light Palo Santo. So like just overwhelm all your senses, and then you just don't know what's happening.
Do you feel like that affected your relationship at all?
Not really. We were super close, like very, very close. Like
okay.
I would have done it in front of him and it would have been fine.
Okay.
Like we talked about everything. You know, you get really close living in a rig with someone for a few years.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it for the most part. It was just annoying. Like it'd be like, really, like right now, you have to go right now. You know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I'm less attracted to this person because they're doing this in front of me.
That's
it's like
fair.
It was just like a annoying
I am
thing.
so someone that it's like, once I'm attracted to someone, I feel like they can't almost do anything that makes me unattracted to them.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you have that bond with someone, you're fine.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that we have a lot more stories like this to tell.
There are so many gross van life things that we could talk about right now.
But you're going to have to come tune into the next podcast.
That's between the Abbeys.
That is between the Abbeys.
That's between the fucking Abbeys!
So check out the next podcast to find out more about that. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you guys in 2 weeks.
We love you so much. Bye-bye. That was
I just popped your wrist.